Have you ever been alone on the road at night and felt like something wasn't right? Like the silence was too deep, the air too heavy, like something was out there, just beyond what you could see. If you ever find yourself driving late at night and come across a gas station that feels off, keep driving. I wish I had. Jake is running down an empty highway, his breath ragged, his chest rising and falling in sharp gasps. His legs feel weak, but he forces himself forward, his body moving on pure survival instinct. His hands are covered in blood, thick, dark, still warm, but it's not his. His fingers tremble as he wipes them against his shirt, smearing the red across the fabric. His heart is hammering in his chest. He doesn't want to look back. He tells himself not to, but he does. And that's when he sees it. A figure standing near the gas station, not moving, just watching. His body is wrong. The shape, the way it holds itself, the unnatural stillness, it doesn't belong. Its head tilts too far to the side. Its arms hang too long. The air around it feels like it's bending, warping, as if reality itself is trying to reject it. Jake's breath catches. His pulse pounds in his ears. Then he hears something, a whisper, his name. Soft. Close. Right behind him, everything goes black. This is how it all started. Darkness, silence, then a sharp inhale. Jake's eyes snap open. His knuckles are white against the steering wheel. The road stretches endlessly before him, swallowed by the night. The gas gauge blinks empty. It's been hours since he last saw another car. No towns, no streetlights, just the empty highway and the whisper of the wind against his windows. Then he sees it. A gas station. The neon sign flickers, struggling to stay alive. Half the letters are burned out, leaving only a broken message glowing in the dark. The building looks old, not just abandoned, but forgotten, like it had been here long before the road even existed. He has no choice. He pulls in. Something feels off the moment he steps out of the car. The air is thick, heavy, wrong. The scent of gasoline mixes with something else, something rotting. Inside, it's worse. The fluorescent lights buzz softly overhead, casting a sickly yellow glow over the shelves. Everything looks dusty, untouched, the air stagnant, unmoving, as if no one has stepped inside for years. And then there's the cashier. A thin, pale old man stands behind the counter, his skin stretched too tight over his skull. His eyes are sunken, almost hollow, but they never leave Jake. He doesn't blink, doesn't move. He just smiles. Jake hesitates. Something about that grin makes his stomach tighten. It's too wide. Too forced, as if the old man is mimicking an expression he barely remembers how to make. The room feels smaller now, the air heavier. Jake swallows and forces himself forward. He just needs gas. Just in and out. That's what he tells himself. But some part of him already knows he's not leaving this place the same. Jake forces himself to move deeper into the gas station. The air is stale, suffocating. His footsteps echo strangely, as if the space is larger than it should be, stretching into unseen corners. The shelves are lined with faded snack wrappers, rusted cans, bottles coated in dust. He picks up a bag of chips. The expiration date reads 1987. His pulse quickens. That can't be right. He runs his fingers over the shelves. Thick dust coats everything, yet The floor beneath his feet is spotless, as if someone or something has been walking these aisles. A soft hum fills the air. Behind the counter, an old television screen crackles to life. The screen is grainy, black and white. At first, it's just static, but then this gas station appears on the screen. The footage is off. The walls are cleaner. The neon sign outside glows brighter. It looks newer, but the aisles, the counter, everything is the same. Jake watches as a man stumbles into the store on the screen. His shirt is torn, his hands smeared with blood. He moves frantically, as if trying to escape something. Jake's breath catches in his throat. Because that man is him. The figure on the screen stops suddenly, as if sensing something. Slowly, it turns its head, not toward the cashier, not toward the exit, but toward the camera. Toward Jake. Jake jerks backward. His chest tightens, his mind races. This isn't possible. He whirls around to look at the cashier. The old man hasn't moved. His hollow eyes bore into Jake, his grin now stretched impossibly wide. Jake's stomach churns. He feels the overwhelming sensation that something is behind him. A whisper slithers through the air. You shouldn't be here. The lights flicker violently. The TV screen glitches again. And for a split second, Jake swears he sees himself on the ground in the footage. His eyes vacant, his throat ripped open, blood pooling around his body. The screen snaps to black. A sharp breath leaves Jake's lungs. His hands tremble. He needs to get out, now. But when he looks toward the door, it's gone. Jake's breath is shallow. The walls of the gas station feel like they're closing in. The old cashier still hasn't moved, hasn't blinked, just stands there smiling as if he knows something Jake doesn't. Jake swallows hard and forces his voice to stay steady. Bathroom. The old man doesn't speak. He doesn't even nod. He just lifts one bony hand and points to the back. Jake hesitates before stepping toward the hallway. The air feels different here, colder, thicker. Each step he takes makes the fluorescent lights overhead flicker, buzzing louder, like they're warning him not to go. The bathroom door is old, paint peeling, covered in scratches. Deep, jagged grooves, like something had been trying to claw its way out. The handle is sticky when he grabs it. His stomach twists. He pushes the door open. Inside, the smell hits him first. It's not just mildew or old plumbing. It's rot, something decaying, something that shouldn't be here. The sink is dripping, but it's not water. The thick, dark red liquid pools in the porcelain, swirling around the drain. Jake turns the faucet handle. Nothing changes. The red keeps dripping, slow and rhythmic, like the ticking of a clock. His reflection in the mirror looks wrong. The lighting warps his features, stretching his face in ways that shouldn't be possible. He blinks, his reflection doesn't. Something moves behind him. A shadow, tall, thin, with fingers too long. Jake spins around, nothing is there. The room is silent. Then, tap, tap, top. The sound is soft at first. It's coming from the last stall. Jake's body locks up. His instincts scream at him to leave, but his feet move forward anyway. The stall door is slightly ajar. He pushes it open. A body falls forward. The corpse hits the floor with a sickening thud. Its face is frozen in an eternal scream, its jaw unhinged, mouth wide, like it had died mid-howl. Its eyes are missing, the sockets hollow, dark, still leaking something wet down its sunken cheeks. Jake stumbles backward, his breath hitching, his stomach clenches. He can't tear his eyes away from the deep scratch marks covering the walls, long, desperate claw marks, like the man had been trying to escape. And then, the corpse moves. His mouth twitches, the jaw trembles, then slowly, painfully, it speaks. A voice that isn't its own, a voice whispering from deep within its hollowed chest. You have to run. The bathroom lights explode. Darkness swallows everything. Jake staggers back, his foot slipping in the pool of blood spreading beneath the corpse. His breath comes in short, frantic gasps. His skin is clammy, cold. His mind is screaming, this isn't real, this isn't happening. Then, the lights above him flicker, buzzing like a dying insect. For a split second, the bathroom is bathed in harsh white light. And that's when he sees them. Hands. Dozens of them, crawling from the stall doors, from the drain, from the cracked tiles, thin, decayed fingers reaching toward him, twitching. Then, total darkness. Jake is blind. The air shifts, the temperature drops, and then the whispers start. Low, distorted, twisting in the air around him. They are saying his name, over and over, some slow, drawn out, others rushed, desperate, overlapping in an endless, echoing chorus. Jake. Jake, don't turn around. Jake, we see you. Something brushes his shoulder. Jake lunges for the door, his hands shaking as they find the handle. He shoves it open and freezes. The gas station is different. The shelves are gone. The bright fluorescent lights have dimmed to a sickly yellow. The walls are cracked, peeling, wet with something dark that seeps from the ceiling in slow, viscous drips. The air is thick, suffocating, reeking of decay. Jake's pulse pounds as he turns toward the entrance. Outside, the gas pumps are rusted husks, barely standing. The pavement is cracked, overtaken by weeds that shouldn't be there. The neon sign is shattered, its broken letters swinging in the wind, creaking. And then, he sees them. A crowd of figures stands motionless by the road. Not moving, not speaking, just watching. They are tall, faceless, their heads tilting at unnatural angles. Their bodies are wrong, twisted, too long, too thin. Jake's breath catches. He steps back, his heart hammering against his ribs. Slowly, too slowly, the figures begin to move. A single, shuffling step forward, then another. Jake turns toward the cashier. The old man is still there, but now his mouth is stretching. Wider and wider, until it's too large, splitting the skin at the corners, revealing jagged, rotten teeth. His eyes roll back, leaving only black voids. Jake doesn't think. He runs. Jake bursts through the gas station doors, his pulse hammering in his ears. His breath is ragged, his mind screaming at him to move, to get out, now. The shadowy figures by the road are closer. Too close. Their movements are unnatural, their limbs jerking in sharp, stuttering motions like marionettes with tangled strings. Their faces are still blank, but their heads twitch with every step, as if they're listening to something only they can hear. Jake lunges for his car, yanking the door open, throwing himself inside. His fingers tremble as he jams the key into the ignition. Click. Nothing. He tries again. Click, click. The figures are whispering now. Not separate voices, but one voice, speaking in perfect unison. You shouldn't have come here. Jake's hands are slick with sweat. He slams the key forward again. The engine coughs but doesn't turn over. The figures are in the parking lot now. Still walking, still whispering. Then, something moves beneath the car. A low, wet scraping sound, like flesh dragging against asphalt. Jake's stomach twists. He doesn't want to look, but he does, and that's when he sees it. His hand crawling out from under the car. Not attached to an arm, just a severed, rotting hand, the skin peeling, the fingers twitching. And then, the rest of it follows. A second Jake. But this one is wrong. Its skin is gray and peeling, its lips torn away, revealing blood-stained teeth locked in a twisted, permanent grin. His eyes are missing, but somehow it's looking right at him. It opens its mouth. Jake can't hear the words, but he knows what it's saying. You are not supposed to leave. The figures are almost at his door now. Jake slams the key forward one last time. The engine roars to life. The figures lurch forward, their whispers rising into a deafening, screeching howl. Jake slams on the gas. The tires screech, the car lurches forward, the headlights slicing through the darkness. In the rearview mirror, he sees them, the shadow people, the second Jake, the gas station, all flickering like a dying film reel. And then, they are gone. But Jake doesn't stop driving. Not even when the road feels different beneath his tires. Not even when he realizes the night hasn't ended. And not even when he glances at the mirror again and sees something sitting in the back seat. Jake's hands grip the steering wheel so tightly that his knuckles turn white. His breath comes in short, sharp gasps. The highway stretches endlessly ahead of him, swallowed by darkness. His eyes flick to the rearview mirror. The gas station is gone. The cracked pavement, the rusted pumps, the shadowy figures. All of it has vanished. The road behind him is empty, like it was never there. His chest rises and falls in uneven breaths. His mind races, trying to make sense of what just happened. Did he imagine it? Was it some kind of hallucination? No. The blood on his hands, the raw panic in his bones. It was real. The neon lights of a police station come into view, standing alone at the edge of a quiet town. A sign of safety, of sanity. He pulls into the lot, barely remembering how he got there. The second he steps inside, the air-conditioned coolness washes over him. Normal, reality, civilization. He stumbles up to the front desk, his voice hoarse. "There's something wrong with that gas station down the highway," he says, his words rushed, breathless. "Something's out there. It's not right." The two officers at the desk exchange a glance. Subtle, but Jake sees it. That hesitation. That flicker of recognition. The older officer clears his throat. "What gas station?" Jake blinks. "The one off the highway, about 10 miles back." Another look between them. Then the younger cop exhales, almost reluctantly, before saying, "That gas station burned down 20 years ago." Jake feels his blood turn to ice. "That's not possible." His voice is barely above a whisper. "I was just there." The older officer shakes his head. "There was a fire. Everyone inside. They didn't make it." Jake stares at them, his heartbeat a dull thud in his ears. His mind screams "no," but deep down, something inside him already knew. He turns slowly, his body numb, his thoughts spiraling into something dark and suffocating. His feet feel heavy as he heads toward the exit. And then he passes a mirror, a flash of motion. Jake stops. His reflection is there, his own face, pale, exhausted, drenched in sweat. But he is not alone. Standing right behind him in the mirror is the cashier. Still grinning, his mouth stretched unnaturally wide. His eyes black voids. Jake's breath catches. He whips around, but the space behind him is empty. His reflection, though, tells a different story. The cashier is still there, closer now, grinning wider. Jake can't move, can't scream, and then the lights in the station flicker. Just once. When they stabilize, Jake is gone. Silence. The police station is empty now. The mirror hangs motionless on the wall, reflecting nothing but a dimly lit hallway. No sign of Jake. No trace that he was ever there. But if you listen closely, somewhere, just beneath the hum of the flickering lights, there's a whisper, soft, almost playful. No one ever really escapes. What do you think happened to Jake? Do you believe places can trap people forever? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoy chilling horror stories like this one, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because trust me, there are places even darker than this gas station. See you in the next story.